Well, good morning. This is me, Mom. Finally, we got an offer on the house, which we accepted. It was from someone in Arizona. He had only seen the property online from what my real estate agent had put on there. And since he had no immediate plans to move, he said we could have up to 90 days to move out. So that was exciting. So Fred and I, we get in the car and we come to North Georgia to look for houses near where our daughter lives. And we were so excited that we found one about a mile and a half from where she lived. And so right away I got contractors to come in and tell me how much it was going to cost to repaint what I wanted to repaint, how much it was going to cost to get new carpet put in, and we had everything lined up. And then we came back home and started packing. And Fred started going through all of his shop equipment to see what he wanted to get rid of, and I was going through the house to see what I wanted to get rid of. And in addition to that, we were doing all the mundane routine things that we do. I was exercising 3 days a week, and we were going to church on Sundays and Wednesdays, and we had a Thursday night Bible study where 2 other couples came. And so we were enjoying life, and with the excitement of, oh, we're going to finally get to move. So we had our moving date set down for August the 15th. And so we had our garage sale, and we went to 4th of July celebration, and then we began to have going away parties. And so several going away parties, as a matter of fact. And we saw so many of our friends that we hadn't seen in such a long time, because of the friend had the 90th birthday party, and we saw a bunch of people there. So we saw everybody. So it was really a good time for us to have all those going away parties, because we were going to be leaving, and we got to see everybody to tell them goodbye. So then on August the 4th, our real estate agent called and told us that the guy was not, since he was not going to use it for his permanent residence right now, he was going to have to wait till he retired. He was going to have to come up with 20% down. Now, he had been pre-qualified for 10% down, but not for 20. And I didn't know you couldn't beg, borrow, or steal to get money to put on a down payment of a house, but he couldn't get the money, so the sale fell through. And here we were, just 11 days from the time that we're to move, and I got 25 boxes packed up in my dining room. But you know, when she called to tell us that, there was a lady that was in our den, and she said, oh, I'm so glad, because my sister is moving here, and said, I know she's just going to love this. So that took away some of the disappointment that I had. And so unfortunately, her sister didn't like it, but we didn't know that for later. But I've always believed that all things work together for my good, because I love God and I've been called according to His purpose. So lo and behold, here we were, 11 days, and we did not have a buyer. So, but I didn't know what good could come out of this, but God's always shown me something good could come out of all of the things that I didn't want to do. So Fred and I talked about, I said, well, what am I supposed to do with all those boxes that I got in there in the dining room? He said, just leave them packed up. So we settled back down to our everyday living, and showing the house once or twice, I think, during that time. And then I guess it was about on August the 12th. It's been about 8 days since the thing had fallen through. And we had gone to exercise that day, I think, and probably out to eat. And that night, Fred and I like to watch movies, so there was one special that he wanted to see, Red Dust, with Clark Gable and Jean Harlow and Mary Astor. So we had a lovely night and went to bed. And the next morning, he woke me up snoring. And usually I could just punch him and I'd say, honey, you're snoring. And he'd turn over. But this morning, he didn't, so I punched him again. I said, honey, you're snoring. So I looked at the clock, and it was 7:15, and we usually get up at 7:30 anyway. So I went to the restroom, and on the way back from the restroom, right in the middle of kind of a gasp snore, there was no sound at all, dead silence. And I knew that Fred had died. I thought, oh my God. So I remember running to him and saying, please don't leave me, don't leave me. But I knew he was gone. But I called 911. And so she tried to walk me through CPR, which I tried to do. And honestly, I could not believe how fast the first responder got there. He was there before, while I was still doing CPR on Fred. And but he had been in the neighborhood and he came immediately. Then there was a state patrolman that saw the first responder there, and he was a friend of ours, and so he stopped by to see what was wrong. And then somebody on the way to work saw all this going on. They called my niece. So we had the first responder and the state patrolman and my niece there before the EMT even arrived, and they got there in short order. And the first responder had tried to revive Fred, and he didn't. We both knew that he was gone. But when the EMTs asked me, said, you want us to see if we can resuscitate him and bring him back? And of course, I didn't want any stone left unturned. If there was a possibility that he could be revived, I wanted to take that chance. So that while they were working on him, it was almost like the Lord was speaking to me. And it was like, do you want Fred to come back? And I had to think, well, I mean, he had told me he was ready to go. He was 85 years old. I knew he was going to have to go before me sometime, unless I went first. And then I got to thinking, I said, well, he hasn't been sick. He hasn't been in the hospital. He's not had a terminal illness. He hasn't had to suffer. He's not been in pain, because after he had that last surgery, and he was really not in that much pain, I thought, I don't want him to come back. He still had his good mind. You know, we enjoyed one another. But was I selfish enough to want him to come back and have to probably go through some of that? And I thought, Lord, you know the future, and I don't. I said, you know what's best, and I don't. So, Lord, I just turn Fred over into your hands, and you do what is best for Fred and for me. And I have heard all my life about the peace that passes all understanding. But I'm going to tell you, I had never experienced the peace that came over me. And I thought, Lord, I don't understand this. Here's my husband that I've loved, and that he's been my life, and he's gone, and I got peace. And then I knew that peace that passes all understanding. So I wasn't hysterical, and I was calm, and I was resigned, and I walked in peace. And God was my ever-present help in the time of need. And he walked with me through the valley of the shadow of death, and he comforted me. And I didn't know what the future held for me, but I really knew who held my future. So it was in my quiet time the next morning. I was journaling at the time, and I wrote in my journal. So while I'm still sitting there, it's like the Lord said, I want this read at Fred's funeral. So one of our friends was going to be doing the sermon at Fred's funeral. And so I told him, I said, this needs to be read. And after he read it, he said, Betty, you're supposed to read this. And I said, I don't know if I can or not. But I knew that I was going to try, because I wanted to honor Fred. And so this is what I wrote. Father, please tell Fred hello for me. Tell him how proud I was of him after he became your child, how much I admired him, his sense of justice and impartiality, the integrity in which he conducted our businesses. Please let us be together in heaven. Lord, he can never be here to hold me and tell me how much he loves me. Unless you help me, life is going to be so meaningless. I need to be needed. Please use me in a greater way than I've ever been used. Give me clear directions in what I'm to do. Help me not be afraid to live alone. And Lord, protect me and look after me. Thank you for 54 years of having Fred with me. I am who I am today because you gave him to be my husband. Thank you that he touched so many people's lives for good. Every day he prayed for the opportunity to tell someone about you. Thank you for granting his request. Fred loved his children and his grandchildren. He was so blessed and proud of the fact that they've all accepted you as their Savior, that they hadn't stuck themselves with needles or smoked those funny cigarettes or got tattoos. He boasted that he had had his girls, 3 grandchildren, and 7 great-grandchildren. Give him the crowns that he so richly deserves. And I know you welcomed him by saying, "Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of the Lord." Amen. God surely knew the plans that he had for our lives. The sale of the house was canceled on August the 4th. Had it gone through, we were supposed to move on August the 15th, the day that we buried Fred. No one could believe Fred's departure because they had seen him in seemingly perfect health just a week or so before. We had going away parties, but I didn't get to go. Fred was not perfect, and neither was I. He was the love of my life. I thank God for putting us together. It's been 12 years, and I still miss him. Thanks. So listen, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you.